Hi, everyone, and welcome to our Visual Literacy Hangout on Air. We're very excited to have you guys join us and very excited about our guest today. Remember that while you're watching, you can tweet out your learning. You can tweet out questions to either the EdTech Team Online hashtag, or I also put Dan's Twitter handle in my last tweet out as well. So today we are joined by Dan Ryder, and he is one of the authors of the book Intention. Yep, there it is. Perfect. Fantastic. And I just want to let you guys know that there is a form that you can fill out after watching this video, and then you can enter for a chance to win one of those copies of that book. So Dan, welcome. Would you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you work?
Dan Ryder. I am the Education Director of the Success and Innovation Center at Mount Poole High School here in Farmington, Maine, which is where I'm broadcasting to you from right now. So if you hear announcements like so-and-so, please report to F215, that's real. It's the school day. We have this nice little chunk of time that I was able to set to work with you folks. There's kids working in the corners and yeah. So what we do here in the Success and Innovation Center is it's a problem-solving lab. So any faculty or any student on campus can come through the door, tell us what the problem is that they're having, whether academic, social, emotional, vocational, professional, doesn't matter what the problem is, to help them find either a solution, we call that the compass, or we try to help them build at the canvas. So we try to provide both here in the SIC, as we refer to it. It's all 100% Gear Up grant funded. Gear Up is federal grant money from the U.S. Department of Ed to help with their aspirations. So we're doing some action research and seeing how it goes. And before doing this, I was an English teacher here on campus for 19 years. So I've been here my whole career and I've gotten to see it all.
Fantastic. So you've got lots of experience. I would love to start. Can you tell us a little bit about what Intention is about?
Yeah, so the heart is around the idea that through creative expression, students can demonstrate deeper understanding of that's what rather than saying the only way for us to determine whether or not a student understands something through a written paper or a teacher-defined project or sets of problem sets from math, lab reports, those kind of traditional assessments. We're not saying that those traditional assessments aren't effective in other ways and don't have value. They do. What we're saying is there's also value to allowing creative expression to be the means of determining whether or not students understand. And you don't have to sacrifice content knowledge to do that. You can very much determine whether or not a student is understanding the concepts at a critical level, at a deeper level, through representations of that. And it's not about creating art, it's about creating understanding. Behind the title comes from, we're not asking students to be artists, we're asking students to be more deliberate and purposeful in the expression of their understanding. So sometimes just through the act of explaining and reflecting on that which you made, that's enough for you to say, oh, I get it. I know what you were trying to do here. You didn't succeed, but by explaining your intention, what you were trying to do. And now we see that, oh my gosh, there is really deeper thinking here, rather than just relying on what's, what the blurb, that little piece, the 5 sentences they wrote quickly while they were stressed out about everything else going on in their lives, and trying to answer that question, like maybe through a piece of art, or a doodle, or a construction, or a project, or a piece of music. They're able to express their understanding, and it's just through the explanation of that expression is where we see, like, oh, they really understand like the core concepts at a very rigorous level.
Awesome. So we've been spending the last couple of weeks talking about visual literacy and how important visuals are for educators. It's not something we were always trained on using in the classroom, either for teaching or allowing our students to create their understanding using visuals. How does this tie what you guys call critical creativity tie into visual literacy?
It is like part and parcel. So visual literacy is fundamental to the book as well. Most of the activities in the book, we call them pathways rather than activities, because the idea is it's just one way to go about doing a thing. You don't have to subscribe to the way that we have explained it. But I would say like 90% of them are around the idea of visualization in some way, shape, or form. So, for example, we're going to try something here. We're going to try to show you some of the activities through a shared slideshow. And Tracy, we're just going to hope and pray that this works on the recording. So we're cross all the fingers. So many fingers crossed. I think I've got it right here. Okay, we're going to share present now. And I'm going to share a window. And I'm going to share this window.
We can see it. Perfect.
Oh, we can see it. Awesome. Okay, so one of the things I love to do, this is a slide deck I worked with a group of teachers in Massachusetts, worked with their staff, actually their whole district, on this idea of visual literacy and intention and creative expression. And it's a term we call critical creativity, because the idea is that through the act of creating, you are experiencing critical thinking. So one of our favorites to do is this thing called a book. And so you just talk about the reading that you recently did, and it can be in any content area. And you say, all right, I'm going to give you this handful of Lego. I always have Lego around. And what you ask them to do is to create a representation of that thinking. So I'm going to turn off my screen here, or I'm going to stop sharing there for a second so I can actually show you what I would mean. So let's just pick Tracy. Choose a piece of fiction or nonfiction that you think is kind of ubiquitous. Tons of people know.
Uh-oh.
What do you think?
Do you know?
I'm putting you on the spot.
I know you're putting me on the spot, bringing back. I've got to think back through some of my children's or my adolescent literature. Have you ever read the book City of Ember?
I have not read City of Ember.
Okay, let's see.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay.
Okay.
So start talking to me. Tell me the basic plot of City of Ember.
There are, so what has happened is there is a community that has been built underground, and they are running out of power and electricity. And so they need to find a way out of the city. And there are two characters, Lena and Dune, that I think it's Lena and Dune. Yeah, I think Lena and Dune, that have to find the way out of the city.
Go to Rum Beat.
Excellent. So what would you say is?
Years, I might be missing some details.
Oh, that's okay. Let's just go with that. So what would you, in your thinking about those two characters, how would you describe those two characters? How would you describe Lena, for example?
Sylvia Williams,
She's
the main author.
adventurous, and she definitely is she pushes the box with her thinking, and
Ooh. Okay.
She kind of breaks the rules too. She doesn't always just follow the rules.
Oh, okay. Nice. Okay, and what about, did you say, what was the other character's name?
Dune.
Dune, and what would you say about that character?
I've got to remember, I mean, because they both are the ones that are going against the government doesn't really want them to find their way out. I hope I'm remembering the story correctly.
Okay,
so they're both
this very strong force pushing against them, right?
Yes.
This rigid force against them. All right, excellent. That probably is, very set in its ways. Yeah. So
yes. Yep.
So what we have here, as you're talking, okay. So this is the City of Ember underground, and what this idea at the bottom represents is that rigidity. Like while there's holes in, and the holes represent the fact that there are ways out, and we have these two central characters, Lena and Dune, who are trying to exploit those holes. But the problem is that the holes that currently exist for them to exploit they don't really fit through those either. So they're going to have to reform and restructure themselves in order to fit. But Lena, I do remember of City of Ember, of other students reading it and talking to me about it, I believe is like the key catalyst to making plans work. Like I think it's like largely her story. But this idea of thinking outside of the box, like this idea of not a piece that you would expect, has these other holes, and deliberately used a technic. So technics are part of Lego. Deliberately use one that has a technic hole here and technic posts fit in there. And so if I could find one, and I can't find one quickly, but that's okay. Like we're getting the idea, is then I could fit those two things together, and you would see that Lena is the lever moving things.
Look at that. Right? Look at what you created from there. That's awesome.
Right. So one of the things that you can do with your students is, even if, run into it all the time. You haven't done your reading. You haven't done your reading. Okay. Instead of just opt out, right? One of the things you could say is, all right, I'm giving each of you a pile of Lego, right? You need to make sure you're sitting across from someone who has read, and as they explain what they have read to you, you build. So one is explaining and summarizing, the other one is building and creating a visual. Then you both take pictures of it. You both then you can either record or write an explanation of what was made, because that is key, right? Why did you make what you made? Why did your partner make what they made? What did they explain? And then they can turn that as an assessment. So then if you're also thinking like, well, I can't let someone off the hook because they need to demonstrate to me that they truly understand, I totally understand that. That absolutely makes sense. Now you have evidence. You have evidence of what they know. You have evidence of what they learned from a colleague peer, right? But you get to have a more authentic representation. Pause 1 second. Your charger's in the other room. Okay. See, we're on the fly.
Real life. I love it.
Real life is what's happening. That's the idea of Brick-a-Book, right? And there's the book has like pathways to all different ways that you can use Brick-a-Book. It doesn't have to be a book. It can be a movie. It can be an article. Be any text. Anything where there's information being retrieved and demonstrating that information just through the art of putting together things with Lego. And you don't have to spend money on Lego sets. You can add, kind of get what you can find. That most kids have them these days, and in lower resource environments, generic anything can work. It doesn't have to be Lego. It can be really anything that allows you to physically put things together. I like Lego because they're so easy to manipulate. Students naturally tend to have an experience with them that's positive in some way, shape, or form. That's why I like them. But we use wood bricks. Often I'll take out these little plastic. They're actually from a recycling center. But what they are is they're the cases that an eyeglass repair kit would have come in.
Oh.
And they're these little glass boxes. And instead of I foolishly left them out in my maker lab, and a group of kids turned them into game pieces yesterday. So I don't have them anymore. But they were great because they were just these prisms. Simple. And I'd say, they did something with Lego, I'd say, here's 5 prisms. Show me the same thing using just these creative constraints.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
That pushes that level of thinking forward, right? But still visual. It's still allowing for that and tactile. So it's allowing for that to happen. But what we're really trying to avoid is this idea that the only way you can express yourself is through oral or written language. And we know that that's not true. And that's what we're trying to do.
Awesome.
So that's one idea. Tracy, what is this? What questions is this raising for you? Got you thinking about?
I'm just super excited for all of the teachers to hear about this and how it ties in, even when we're talking about visual literacy, that it doesn't have to be actually creating a visual. It can be creating a Lego, taking a picture of that and explaining, using things like allowing them to record their voice, either with a screencasting tool or Seesaw or whatever it is, and sharing. I just love hearing that they get to share their thinking in a new and different way. And by building with Legos, it might help them understand the story in a different way. So I love hearing that, and can't wait to hear a couple more examples.
Another one. This is going to be one of my absolute favorites. This one's called Color Palette. Oh, come on, Color Palette. Let's pop up. Here we go. Come on. Why are you not working? It's having issues.
That's okay. We can see it down there.
Oh, you can see it?
Well,
yeah,
we can see it on the left-hand
like
side. We can't really read too much about it, but.
Yeah, that's troubling. So we'll stop presenting that and we'll try this another way. All right. One more shot at this. Come on now. Oh, it's having all kinds of fun hitches. I'm sure this is something to do with my network. Yay. here at the high school. But okay, let me talk about Color Palette. I just wanted to show you. I could do this live with you folks. Oh, there it goes. Okay, we're back. We're back. Let's see. Oh, it's not letting me edit within my screen. That's super irritating. Ooh, are you seeing that? Are you seeing those changes?
Nope, we're still on the brick-a-book.
Yeah, that's a limitation that I'm going to take care of. I will send along a link, okay, so that all of your folks will have the slide, and it'll be great and beautiful and wonderful, and everything is good. I'll explain, and I'll just use markers right here that I have available. That's why I like to work in digital and analog. I tell kids this all the time. You never know, and sometimes the best thing to do is to do both. So let's talk science. What's a science process that we know that students tend to kind of universally have to dive into, especially in those like middle grades?
Oh, I don't know. I was fourth grade. I was fourth grade teacher, and we always did electricity. But why don't you choose one? Can you think of one from the middle grades?
Would you say electricity?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's do electricity.
Okay.
What do you need in a circuit? What are the different parts to a circuit?
You need a power source.
You need power, right?
Yep.
Okay. What else do you need?
You need, I'm trying to think of what all the technical terms are, but you need some kind of output, whether it's a light bulb or a motor, and then you need a way to, yep, and then you need ways to connect those.
Right, and then you need conductivity, right?
Yep.
Some sort of a conductor so that you have your power, like the most simple, right? You need to have your power, you need to have your conductor, you need to have your output, right? So the idea behind Color Palette is to use color to help demonstrate your understanding of any given concept. So I just very quickly wrote down power, input, conductor, output, right? This is there's not any thinking here. This is just a kid taking notes while you're lecturing, or they're copying the stuff down off the board, right? So what if instead we said, when you think power, right? If I was to hold up these three colors, I've got blue, pink, and green. Of those three, which most represents the concept of power to you?
I'm going green.
Going green. All right. So we've got green. So green. Now, let's just not call it green, right? And let's not just call it power. Let's give it a name that helps us remember something about
power.
So we've got green, right? So this is power. What we call it? Power plant.
Oh yeah, power plant, and then we've got the green too to match with it. Oh, look at that.
Okay, so now we've got power plant, and that's the name of this color. This color is now called power plant.
Okay.
And then now we think of the output, and I'm gonna go. We've got our two colors left, which is gonna be our output.
Pink is gonna be the output.
Pink is the output, and now we're not gonna call it pink. We're gonna call it something something else. What are we going to call it? We could call it output. Output. I got it. We'll just do this. We'll call it awesome output.
Awesome. Perfect. Okay.
Okay. So then we have the pink, because that reminds us of like the hot pinkness of like, oh, that's so cool, right? And then we remember that's awesome because you get the output and it's power and it's energized.
Yeah.
Okay, and now we just need one for conductivity. And we already know the color we have to use. We have to use blue.
Yeah.
Because that's the creative constraint we have. We're just 3 colors, right? So we take that and we make this blue and we call that conductivity. I'm going to call it conductivity stream.
Like a blue stream. Perfect.
Like a blue stream, right?
Yeah.
Because that's how energy moves. Very similar to a stream, right? And then you can use the kind of metaphor of a stream and how you can short circuit a stream. You can put dams in it. You can put resistors, right? How fast water flows back and forth. So then there's another way you can do visual literacy while you're trying to, and we all know that science makes money when you have demonstration, right? But this is a way that the kids can become an active part of that demonstration. You have them draw out their circuits using these colors.
Do you allow the students to all choose what color they want to use for each one?
Absolutely.
Okay,
right.
so then it's not in the class, somebody else, somebody else might think that blue is power. Okay.
Right, and that's totally cool, right? Like the idea is that it's about personalization and letting kids choose. Oh, I have 8th graders visiting. Hello, 8th grade. Hello, great job in the play last night, by the way. So they're doing tours. They're having step up orientation days today.
Yes.
But yeah, so it's super key that students choose their. At the same time, I keep using that phrase, creative constraint. And one of the things Amy and I write about in the book is one of the greatest traps, jails that we can put kids through is this idea of you have limitless choices, right? You can do you can pick whatever you want, and kids just atrophy in that. And or I shouldn't say atrophy, they do atrophy eventually, but they hit entropy. They just get stuck and there's nowhere to go and they don't know what to say or what to do. That's why I often will give, if I want kids to choose 3 colors, I'll give them 5 of those 5. That way they're not locked in, but at the same time, it's constrained. That's why I give a handful of Legos and not just say, you can have the giant bin and just go sifting through for the next hour. Because they will keep looking for the perfect answer. Yes. And they don't have to be perfect. They can be rough and raggedy because it's about the content, right? And that's what it goes back to is like, it's not about the Lego construct. It's about whether or not they understand the concept. It's not about the colors they chose, right? Now, digitally, we usually point people towards all the different color picker tools. Chrome, Chrome has a whole bunch of them, right? There's Coloris. There's Color Lovers is one of the first that I started using, and I kind of love. So there's these different places you can use, so you can capture them, keep them. Those color palettes, students can write their explanations. Again, it goes right back to why did you choose that color? But I've done this with everybody from I've gone and worked with some 6th graders. This with AP Lit students. The same concept. You just pick your content. Ask them to use those colors. And what you're really looking for then is you're looking for that depth of knowledge. Like how rigorous do they get with that meta thinking and how much demonstration do they show through that? So it's not about like simplifying the actual understanding. It's just about using a different way to get there than we typically think is available to us.
Well, Dan, thank you so much for those great examples. Yeah. I just love this thought of critical creativity and really pushing them to some deeper understanding and deeper learning. What other last thoughts do you have for the teachers who are in this visual literacy course right now and thinking about how how they can push their students into that to be more creative, because it's such an important skill.
Well, what I'd like to
Brianna,
really
Harrington, please come to the main
just waiting for that
office.
little message. Ah, it's such a lovely. Then I picked like the perfect
Real life.
place. Like it's real life. It's really happening. One of the key takeaways that I really emphasize in my workshops and when I'm hammering an idea home with folks is that it's not about the art. And I've said it a few times, but it's not about the art. It's about the thinking. And the act of creation is inherently higher order thinking. There's evaluating going on. There's synthesizing going on. There's there's all these decision stages, but we're getting into that higher level of blooms. So when people say, I just don't have time, everything else I'm doing, I say, maybe the things that you're doing aren't reaching every kid that they could be. I'm not saying you need to teach them to all be artists. I'm not saying you need to assess their creativity, assess their content. Maybe some of the ways that we've been doing things hasn't worked for as many students as we think it has. There's all sorts of learners who have just been going through the motions, and while they turn things in, none of it's sticking. It's lasting as long as the worksheet. It's lasting as long as the essay, as long as the the traditional assessment. These things don't have to be yet another thing that you're doing. Time to say what is really working and what's not working with what we're doing with kids. And let's try substituting some of the things that may not be as effective, right? I work in the school every day. I understand being overwhelmed, and I understand the next hot thing coming in, and the next, oh, now we should do this instead of this. One little thing. Make one choice to try one of these and do it a couple of times over the space of a month and see how it goes. It doesn't have to be everything all at once.
That is really good advice. That is definitely really good advice. I think that we all need to hear that in our jobs and know that we can do something different, and we need to start with just one thing, and really appreciate it. I know that a ton of people who are listening are going to be super excited to dive into your book. It has so many other great ideas. So we're really excited to be able to give a few of those away. And Dan, we really, really appreciate you joining us today. And thanks for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Hey, thanks, Tracy. I appreciate it. Have fun, everyone.
Bye.
See ya.